Hi everyone, and welcome back to VetEcho Podcast, your veterinary podcast. I'm Jade, and I'll be today's host, and I'm with Margot and Iriana. Today's episode touches on a very serious, emotional, and sadly recurring issue: the increase in pet abandonments during the summer. While summer often means vacations and sunshine for many of us, it's a time of heartbreak for countless animals. Every year, shelters across Europe see a rise in the number of pets, especially dogs and cats, being abandoned as families prepare to go on holiday. This year, we want to shine light on this issue, especially as the World Day Against Abandonment, observed on June 28th, approaches and will actually be passed by the time we post this episode. To explore this topic with us today, we are very honored to welcome our very first guest, Professor Paulo. He is a veterinarian with a master's and PhD. The PhD is in the field of shelter medicine, and he's also one of our university professors. He's a strong advocate for animal welfare and is also one of the co-founders of the European Shelter Medicine Journal Club. And if I'm not mistaken, he's actively involved in the development of a future European specialization in shelter medicine. His work and expertise brings a unique veterinary and scientific perspective to the topic of animal abandonment, and we are truly grateful to have him with us today. Thank you for joining us, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
As a first question, before we dive in the subject, can you present you briefly and can you explain to us what motivated you to become involved in animal welfare and how did you get first involved with issues like abandonment and shelter medicine?
Okay, yes. So I graduated in 2013 from my vet school. Um, as most of us, when I went to vet school, I thought my future was already defined. So I really wanted to be a neurologist and do neurosurgery, and I go after that. So I went to Cornell in United States, doing only neurology, neurosurgery, and for familiar reasons, I had to come back um, and start looking for work, and started working in a small clinic that had mixed practice. So dogs and cats the most, but also farm animals, horses, pigs, cows, sheep, chicken, turkeys. Was nice, and I was enjoying that. Besides, that was not what I thought that I will do in the future. But life is that, and sometimes have side lines of story that are important, and in the ending, it's your main story at all. So in 2016, um, law in Portugal changed, and was shifting the scenario about stray animals. So law 27 2016 was published, and make a big change of scenario about that. So culling for control of population was forbidden with practical effect in 2018 is the fact, but local governments started looking for vets to implement those changes, and in that I had the opportunity of starting with that in intermunicipal shelter. Um, I went in 2017 to intermunicipal shelter full time, so 35 hours a week, every day, not weekends, but every day, and to start to implement those changes. The law has forbidden the cooling, but also has turned mandatory the sterilization of animals prior to adoption. Also enables the TNR, trap, neuter, and return for cats, and was a real improvement of the welfare and animal health of those animals that before that they were collected from the streets and waited 8 days for restitution to the owners, and if they don't claim those, they could be cooling for any purpose, not a justification either. So I started in that moment in the shelter medicine, and shelter medicine turned one of my passions, um, and I decided to do my PhD in that area because all the scientific support that we have at the time and nowadays almost the same is from American, and there are some difference, and in Portuguese level, in European level, we have disease that American does not have, and are similars, are difference, and we need to understand that. Understanding that is putting the information that we have inside our shelters outside, so others can see what we have, what we do, and how you can improve that a national level and European level. And that after my PhD, um, led me with other colleagues across Europe to found the European Shelter Medicine Journal Club that pretends to reunite people across Europe in shelter medicine, to talk about shelter medicine, to see articles in shelter medicine from European perspective, and to work towards a specialization under ABVS umbrella.
Hey, thank you for this presentation. And it's a very interesting story. I think it's important to knowledge for every future vets that are listening to us that sometimes the life does not go as we expected it to go. So it's interesting.
And it's everything okay with us. Okay, we sometimes think it's all planned. It will go that way and step by step, step by step. But sometimes you have to take a sideways.
Something happens.
Yeah, it's very okay.
Thank you for this presentation. And to dive in our subjects, I would like to begin with some numbers. For example, in France, some data shows that over 60,000 pets are abandoned during summer each year, which represent 60% of the annual abandonment rates. And for example, in 2023, only 17,000 pets were taken in by the Animal Protection Society. The other were taken by a private organization or are even unreported cases. Those numbers are so estimations. And in Portugal, I saw that the animal number of rescued animals hovers around 40,000 animals, while fewer than 30,000 are adopted. Even though the detailed summer data is scarce, the warning signs are loud and clear. The situation is just as alarming. It's also important to note that these figures primarily affect the animal collected by official centers and may not include animal taken in private organization or in reported cases. And additionally, there are regional variations, with some areas showing increases of abandonment while others experience decreases. Now that we know a bit more about the context, let's start by understanding the scope of the problem. So I will ask first the question to my co-host, and then Fraser, you can tell us if you agree with them or not. The girls, can you tell us why do you think summer is such a critical time for animal abandonments? And what are the main reasons people abandon pets during the summer?
For me, people in this time go on holidays, and some people see the pets as a burden, so they will abandon them, and others will have some impulsive adoption in the year. But when they arrive in summer, they are like, well, what can I do with this pet? And they don't anticipate the consequences of an adoption.
Yes, I agree. I think there is a lack of preparation for a lot of pet owners. And so during summer, the routine will change. And maybe this, for example, issues that you have, behavioral issues with your pet, will be a bit more inconvenient for you because you will be at your house, for example, with your pet. And so you will start to see some issues. And also with the increase of costs, because, for example, if you want to travel during summer, you will see that to take your pet with you, it's expensive. To take a pet sitter for you to go, it's also expensive. And so the the cost of owning a pet will be there and maybe more visible during summer, and it can be also a factor.
Yes, I agree with you. We have a lot of owners that do not plan properly the long the long time after adoption, after having a pet, and when they want to go on holidays, the problem appears. So we also have a problem with accommodations in Portugal. We don't have a lot of places where you can go with your pets. I think it's different from France, where it's more usual to have your pet to the coffee shop, to the shopping. In Portugal is not that usual. That also because pets here are not trained as I think they should. Okay, but also there is a lack of opportunity to that. So if you can't bring your animal, you don't have the need to train it to allowing to go and behave and stay nice and quiet along you take your coffee or eat your meal. So that is a problem. But the principle I think is not thinking long term. It's okay, it's impulsive. I want a pet, I have a pet, and I see after what it brings. Since costs, since holidays, everything that comes with a pet, it's a long term commitment, yes. And people I don't think the most of the doctors think that and see that way. So they want now, they have now, and after we will see. And that it's the principal problem. And then is the cost, the expensive. Okay, even if you find a place that you can bring your pet, it's more expensive, and that is a very big problem because people, I don't see people saying, okay, I can't take my pet with me, so I don't go. Okay, I go anyway. If my pet can't go with me, I leave it behind. And that it's a cultural problem. I think people give too much value to the holidays and going holidays and going out and going to the beach. Okay, and pets in that moment in the summer principle get behind. Okay, and also because hotels or pet sitters are very expensive, and also because shelters and associations, private associations, are overcrowding. So even if you wanted to, okay, I want to go on holidays 2 weeks, it's not possible to take my pet with me. Can you have it for 2 weeks? They even if they wanted, they cannot because they are overcrowded, and there is a lot of stray animals in the streets that have priority to enter if there is space to enter animals. Also, you reported correctly the numbers. Then they are underestimated because they are official, are from the shelters only. We don't have data from the private organizations, and we have a study in 2023 that estimates that stray animals are about 1 million in Portugal. Of 100,000 dogs and 100,000 cats. It's a lot, and we annually collect 45,000 animals. So it's about 4.5% of the stray animals. So we are not collecting enough, and shelters are overcrowded. So you don't have space to that almost 5% of stray animals in the streets. And also organizations are overcrowded. Everything is full. Streets are full. And so people that have pets, the pets that have owner, don't have also space. So I think the problem is that joint issues that come confluent in the summer, and it's a peak. To that, you have also the kittens. It's a seasonal peak we have more animals. And then we have other problem in Portugal. We have a lot of big animals. So people with chihuahuas and Doberman Pinscher, it's easier to travel, to go in the car, to go in the airplane, to have accommodation that allow a pet of that dimension. But if you're thinking in Transmontano Mastiff, that is a dog from Portugal, yeah, it's complicated. It's for people that don't know, Transmontano Mastiff is almost a Grand Danois. It's a very big, very heavy. So to travel with the animal, it's not easy if you think in those kind of animals of breeds. So I think yes, it's there's a lot of way to go to sensibilization, to educate people, to aware them about what bringing a pet home is in the long term and the consequences of that adoption.
Based on your experience, you can answer too, girls. Are there certain animals profiles in terms of breed, age, of else that are more likely to be abandoned?
Yes, yes, it is what you see. Um, so little back in the previous question, we have also a lot of abandonment in the summer, but we don't have that data that you have about 60,000 animals in the summer almost. We have abandonment all over the year, and in the summer that intensifies a little because of the problem of the holidays and the problem of the seasonal kittens, if you want. But in terms of profile of animals that are most abandoned, senior animals, animals with disease, females with litters, dogs, cats. I think almost all they are abandoned, but when you have problems with habitation or accommodation with your neighbors, also let that the smell because of having an animal in the summer and having in the winter is different, and the neighborhood can complain about the smell, the feces, the urine, and sometimes there is more problems about that also. But the most problematic profiles are elderly animals, not sterilized, not spayed, that have litters and people don't know what to do in, so abandoned, with diseases and behavioral. So too much energy, that is difficult to make them behave. So I think those are the most probable to be abandoned in the summer.
Okay. And what do you think, girls?
I agree, and I think in France we have another issue, which is there is a more it's more common to have a breed dog in France than in here, for example, because there is a lot of stray dogs that are mixed.
Yeah, yeah.
But in France we have a lot of breeds, and there is some patterns that we can see with breeds in the chateau. So, for example, trendy and fashionable breeds will tend to be abandoned more frequently because people will often buy them and get them on impulse by seeing a movie or something.
Yeah.
And without fully considering what it means to own a dog, or also what's the specific breed actually require. And some dogs, for example, like Belgian Malinois, are extremely energetic and needs a lot of mental and physical stimulation, and maybe more than others. And so, for example, in this type of case, when the needs are not met, the behavior problems can often emerge, such as aggression, being destructive, and other things. And I guess it's also an issue that we can find because people will take a break without considering the energy level, their needs, and so we'll have after issues such as aggression, behavioral issues, like you just said.
Yeah, I think in Portugal we have some breeds that are considered are stigmatized, are considered more aggressive than others by law. So some people have those animals, don't as really contextualization or concern about what means to have that the breeds of dogs and the needs by law to have those dogs. So when they try to travel with them, there is a lot of paperwork and there is a conceptualization of the reality and the needs, the secure, some constraint measures that you have, being spay, being neuter, a lot of things that you have to fulfill to have legally those animals. So it's a lot of problems, costs associated, and also contributes to abandonment, even if the dog is not aggressive, because no animal is aggressive by law, by papers. Okay, depends on the education, the train, the familiar context that you have. But we have those kind of problems with those stigmatized breeds. Like Amstaff or Staffordshire Terrier or Pit Bull, but we also have that problem and mismatch between the energy level of the animal and the familiar context. We see a lot of that in elderly people that adopt a puppy, and then the dog is an adult with a lot of energy, and people with 60, 70 years don't have the patience and the time and the energy to go run with the dog, to go outside and to play with him, because he's a puppy. It's a young dog with a lot of energy, needs to spend that energy, and they don't have an environment in which to spend that energy. So there is a problem, and people don't want that. They want it but don't want now, so they abandon. Okay, because they knock at the door of the shelter of the association. I can't have this dog because he has a lot of energy. I fall yesterday because he crossed in front of my legs, because he pushed me, etc., etc. And in the shelter, in the association, we are full. You can have it. You have to look another person, another family that can have it, and people don't have a solution. And sometimes the only solution they have is to abandon. They don't choose to do that, but they are faced with no solution. We have a problem, we try a lot of solutions, no one can answer my problem, and for them it's safer, it's better to abandon with knowledge that is illegal and it's a bad thing, but they don't have another solution. Is a problem.
To come back on the potentially dangerous law, in France we have a bit the same. It's placed by categories. So the first one is you have to spray the dog into a bunch of authorizations. But actually, there is right now not a lot of dogs that are taken by owners that are in these categories because it's too complicated to have them. And so the phenomenon that we can see is that people report their choice on similar breeds but that are not categorized. And so, for example, in France, there is a lot of bully breed, which basically is very similar to Amstaff, but is not categorized. It's not defined as really a breed right now in France. And so, for example, you will see this type of issue of people, like in 10 years ago, it was Rottweilers that we were seeing on the shelter everywhere. It has been categorized. The people starts with other breeds that are quite similar but have the same issue when they are not treated well and have the same stigma.
In Portugal, the law that it's a law as forced by law. It's categorize some breeds as potential harmful for people, and it's different from those that are harmful, that are dangerous breeds. No breeds dogs, because those are dogs that really are beaten or make something bad, not there is no need to bite. Even a tentative of aggression is sufficient to categorize them as danger dog. Potential dangerous breeds of dogs are categorized, but is not restrained by breed. If is a son or a grandson of an animal of that breed is also considered, and if he has a conformational mandible that making have the force of mandible heavy is also considered. So anything that resembles the breeds that are considered potential dangerous makes the animal potential dangerous. So it's more interpretative than categorized. You don't need to have a pure breed dog of that categorized breeds. If you have a mixed dog from those breeds is also considered as those implications of spay neuter. You have to have a leash of 1 meter maximum, not extensible. You have to put a muzzle on every time you go to the street, and you have to have some fence or walls around the place where it lives to protect people from them, and have a notice saying here is a dog that is dangerous or potential dangerous. So, and there is a lot, and you have to make a course about the detention of those animals to be allowed to have those animals, and reproduction is forbidden, of course, but there is a lot of importation, and the law allows to have animals in Portugal, so entering Portugal to reproduction and then go out.
Okay. I think the course is to have this type of animals should be for all type of animals. And everyone should get information before having
I think yes, everyone should have a course before having a pet. Because there is a lot of mismatch between the perception of owners or potential owners about what is to have a cat, a dog, and a dog of one breed, of one size, is different from another, and people really don't know what is to have a pet. There is a lack of information and knowledge, and some people get information before having a dog or a cat, but other people don't. They want it now, and because they want, and get it because you go to the shelter. I want a dog in the shelter. Okay, so you have money to pay the bills in the vet, food. When you go out in holidays and you can't get your dog with you, and people think about it. Okay, you know that this animal you will get now, it's a puppy, but will grow and will live 15, 16 years, will get sick. So you have vaccinations, deworming, food, etc., etc. So how much time do you are at home? How much time do you have to be with your pet, to go with him outside, to play with him? Okay, how is your familiar structure? You have kids, you have elderly. Okay, so people think about their context, and if they have really think about having a dog or a cat in families. Sometimes people enter to have a pet and get out because they conclude they don't think about that really well. But other people think other way, go there, think they don't want me to have a pet, I go other place, and they get. And people, if they really want to have a pet, they will get a pet. If not from a shelter or association, they will get from the street, from a friend, from a breeder, or internet, because it's really easy to have a pet. And there is a problem that countries that are putting a lot of barriers to adoption, even costs, or UK, for example. And you have a lot of questions before a profile, financial profile, visitations to your home, etc., etc. It's so difficult to have a pet. You have to have a schedule to go out with your pet. Some professions are blocked to have adoptions. So vets, for example, it's very difficult to have a pet in the UK. Okay, because you don't have schedule to 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 spend time with your pet. So it's very difficult. What is this leading is to importation of animals. Okay, because people can't adopt there. It's very expensive. So go outside from Portugal, from Spain, from Greece, from Romania, because it's easier, it's cheaper, and besides that, they think, and it's correct. They are doing a good action because they are helping resolve a problem in those countries. It was the same with Germany, Netherlands. It's very expensive to get an animal there, so people import because easier, it's a lot less barriers and is less expensive than go in the local shelter or the local association to get adoption because it's very difficult.
They are implementing something like that in Switzerland. In the next year that will come, they are going to implement a formation of, I don't remember how much hours, but people will have to do things before getting a pet. But it's only eligible for 1 year. So they do formation, they will have like a diploma to have a dog, but if they don't get a dog in the year that follows, they have to do it again. So it's interesting, but
It's interesting. I think in Portugal we have misperception. People think having an animal is a right, and okay, you have that right, but it's a right that comes with a lot of duties, and it's like having a child. You can have it if you want it, yeah, but it's a full commitment and has a lot of duties, and no one forces you to have a child. You want it because you want. You have it because you want, and you have to fulfill those duties for life. The same with animals, but there is a lack of perception of that. So I want it's like a thing in most case scenario. So I want a phone now. The phone, I like the phone. The phone suits me, and when I don't want or don't like, or I want another, more fancy, more beautiful, etc. I change. I get rid of those old phone and get the new one. And animals can't be treated like that. Okay, it's not a pair of trousers. It's not a cell phone. It's not a thing. It's no, it's not a human being, but it's a being and has senses, has emotions and feels and has trauma associated with those problems. So you have to be sure when you want to have your animal, and if you want to use your right to have an animal, you have to be conscious about the duties and the full-time commitment, at least during the life of the animal, because they don't live much as us, but 15, 16, 20 years. Okay, it's a time frame that you have to think that being will be with you, and if you can provide that time frame for that animal, it's better not have the animal, or think better about what you want.
yeah. And to come back to something that you said, you talked about trauma. So that takes us to the second part of this podcast about the consequences. And it's a question for all of you. What do you think are the consequences of abandonment on animals physically and emotionally?
I think the first consequence is something that we will see when they arrive in the shelter. They will feel confused, scared, and a bit lost. And in a more long-term time, we can also see shutdowns, anxiety behavior, and stress. And it can also, well, for this type of trauma, it can also make the adoption more difficult for the rest.
Yeah, some animals will maybe have a loss of trust in humans because they have faced a difficult situation. Moreover, if they have been abandoned in like streets or not in a shelter, and in those conditions they may have faced a lack of food and water, so they suffer dehydration or malnutrition, and they potentially can link that to the abandon and the humans in general, so it can affect their perception of humans.
Yeah, it's very correct. Very correct. Animals are sentient beings, so they experience. So when they have a family and get abandoned, that induces a trauma. And you see, I saw a lot of dogs coming in from the street that probably had a family, and they get in the corner. They don't want interaction. They are depressed. They are with mental trauma, and they don't trust humans. They most of the time are in their corner. They don't want to live anymore. They don't eat. They don't drink. They are there waiting for their owners or in a deep trauma. I saw some animals in very bad, getting in very bad shape because of that, because they could get abandoned and they enter a trauma, a mental trauma, and that mental trauma then became a physical with disease, cachexia, stress. Entering a shelter is a stress. Living in a shelter is a place of stress. The animals have more level of cortisolemia, hypercortisolemia. So if you have hypercortisolemia, you have a depression of in the immunitary system. So more probability of infection disease. Um, but it's very difficult to make a rehabilitation of animals that and get trauma. Sometimes you have animals that over some time start getting again some confidence and trust in human beings because they spend 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month in the streets, eating badly, um, drinking badly, being mistreated by people that see the dog and yells at him or worse. And then they came in the shelter. It's a stressful environment, but the staff gives food, gives water, treat him, and step by step, a little, the animal sees, okay, in these humans is trust, and I can trust again. And you start to rehabilitate that animal, and with luck, you find another family. Or other situations, you don't have that good evolution, and the animal is lost because and you will never trust again humans, and can be aggressive, can not eat at all, and get in very bad condition and disease after that. And it's very difficult to. It's very. It's people are starting to perceive that animals feel like alike humans, so they have bad experience, and that makes a mark in their mental shape, and that is for lifelong. So I think 10 years ago people don't think that in that way. So animal is an animal, though don't have that kind of feeling of experience, are not sentient beings. And now I think that is getting more acknowledged nowadays, and people think, okay, no, if I make this action, animal will suffer, it will make a trauma, and that can cost mental well-being to the animal, and in consequence animal health also.
Okay, you talked about cortisol. So for the people who don't know what that is, it's a corticoid hormone that is produced by the adrenal glands. And in normal situations, it can be useful for the body because it helps for anti-inflammation. It helps mobilize energy, and it also helps the homeostasis.
Yes.
But in a long-term period and in high levels, it can cause harm to the body because it's immunosuppressive. It can cause cognitive effects and behavior, sleep, and digestion interference.
Yes.
And I found some studies published. The both studies were published, in 2024. One by Cambridge and the other by Frontiers in Animals. That shows that abandoned animals have a higher general cortisol level than other animals, and that is even after they are adopted. So that shows that even after the animal is put in a great situation, they still have stress. They still have effects on them.
It's a chronic effect about that modulation that was made by the hypercortisolemia. So you have a span effect, a chronic effect after you cease the problem, so the environment that was stressful, but the change in the way the hormones are produced are changed. Okay.
And it's also for that the cortisol is also called the stress hormone. And I found another research about abandoned animals that shows that abandoned pets are more likely to develop separation-related behavior and separation anxiety.
Anxiety, yeah.
So we can see with all that abandonments have a really bad impact on animals, even in the long term. So it's really impacting for them. What, for you, Professor, what are the practical and emotional challenges faced by shelter staff and veterinary teams during this time of the year?
Okay, related to shelter, abandonment, overcrowding. Okay, you have to have guts to work in this area because it's very stressful. Okay, everyone likes when animal is adopted, and it's really good, and you feel really great because it's the purpose of your work is to get a second opportunity to those animals, getting a family. Most of them never had a family. It's the first time. Others, and consequence of the abandonment, is the second family. And you feel like you make a good work when you get the animal adopted. But the most of animals in shelter don't get adopted. Okay, are very, very, very low adoption rates. So I think we talked about the numbers. So only to have a picture, we have since 2017 until 2024, almost 40,000 animals collected by year. Okay, so of those collected, okay, you have increased the adoption rate to almost 70%, what means almost 30,000 animals adopted per year. But this leaves us with almost 15,000 animals per year entering the shelters, adding to those already there. So every year, 15,000, 15,000, 50,000, 50,000. Okay, so you can see there is a lot of animals in the shelters because it's an adding system. Okay, we are talking, it's very good, 70% of adoptions about the collected animals, not the population of animals in shelters. And if you consider, if you look at animals in the street, about 1 million, we are talking about that 4.5% collected each year, okay, and 70% of 4.5%. So it's nothing. It's almost nothing. It's very, very, very few. So the big number of animals, sorry, gets in the shelter, and it's an ending system for them. They don't get adopted. They or die there, live their lives there and die of age, get the disease and die, or get euthanized because of some problem that really justifies the euthanasia. Some are returned to the owners. There is a few, about 20, 10 a year, depends on the shelter, but they are the less, because we have another problem here. It's with the identification microchip. Most of animals that enter shelters don't have chip. identification. So it's very difficult to make people accountable for those pets. But for staff, returning to your question, for staff working in shelters, you see not only those good results, the adoptions. You see the animals that die, you see the animals that need to be euthanized, the animals that live 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the shelter and don't know other life besides shelter or roaming in the street. So it's very difficult because you have to put in perspective how much well-being is living entire life in a shelter. And some countries don't consider that a good practice. Okay, so the shelter should be a mean point. So it is a transitional place. So you are in the street. You don't need to be in the street. You don't have to be in the street. You shouldn't be in the street. We collected you because of animal health, but also public health, public safety. So we collected you, you treat you, rehabilitate you. Now you have to go to a family because they are companion animals. They are domesticated animals. They are not animals to be captive. Okay, shelters are not a zoological place. Okay, and dogs and cats, no, there are not species under conservation. Okay, so you have to put that in perspective. But people working in shelters struggle with that purpose that is getting adoption to all. And when you work in a shelter with 200 animals and you get 3, 4, 5 adoptions a month, you imagine the struggle that is working there. And taking pictures, putting in the social media, receiving calls, phone, and people want puppies, kittens, want that breed that you never saw in the shelter because people think shelters make dogs and cats, and you can ask for a specific breed, so a Maine Coon or a Pinscher or a Bull Terrier, no, but a French Bulldog and some kind of no. We have dogs. Mongrels, okay, and you have a mixed breed. You don't have a specific breed. You have the Transmontano Mastiff, big dogs, yeah, but no one wants because apartments don't allow you to live with them. But those people struggle with that. Struggle with the public pressure of have a female dog and seven puppies in my street. I don't want them here. You have to collect them. You don't have space to collect them. But you receive calls, pressure, political pressure, group pressure to collect animals inside the shelter when your shelter is already overcrowded. And that harms what? Animal well-being and animal health in consequence, but also psychological and mental health of the staff. Because you want the best for animals inside the shelter, and that is in the beginning getting adoptions. Secondly, not getting too much animals that after that you'll not be able to provide the care that they need and you should provide. So you don't have capacity for care for those animals. And in third, you get a lot of pressure of everyone around you, the community, because you are not collecting all the animals that are in the streets. Okay, so it's very difficult to balance that, and it's a snowball effect, and it's very, very difficult if you don't have the purpose clearly stated in your mind, a good group and support group in the shelter environment. It's very difficult and it's very easy to go down and have some kind of mental depression or issues related with your work. You see a lot of things, not only there, but animals entering mistreated, with diseases, hit by car. Some some stuff very difficult. And even inside the shelter you can have some problems. Animals can have some fights sometimes, and you need to have capacity to deal with that. Puppies sometimes die, okay, are in a shelter, get parvoviruses, okay. Sometimes you have some kind of disease that appears, and you have to deal with that, and sort of morbidity and mortality. And you have to know that no one wants that. You work to avoid that, but they will appear sometimes in your work, and you have to deal with that. And you have to have sanity, mental sanity, to work with that in an environment that is very difficult, and everyone is pointing fingers to you and demanding solutions, and you can't provide them.
Thank you very much for this answer. It's very important to point this aspect out because often the staff and the vet staff, the shelter staff are being forgotten, and people only think about the animal and never think about what is.
Yeah, and if you allow me, I think it's very important to the shelter world think about two concepts. That is capacity of care. That is very important, and it's in Portugal is a big problem. We have a lot of places that don't feel that demand, and gets a lot of problems because staff gets overwhelmed with the work, and animal well-being and animal health depends on that. And you need to have staff in number sufficient to provide those care. So people in the shelter is not about petting animals, is not about giving food and water and play all the day with them, okay. It's a place where we work in public health, preventing zoonosis, but also doing the most of our work is prophylactic. It's avoiding disease to appear. So vaccination, deworming, um, nutrition, etc. But we can't do that if you don't have staff, if you don't have caretakers, if you don't have nurses, if you don't have vets that can make that work happen. Um, so shelter in some places is viewed as a necessary thing, but not wanted. So in most places, if you go in Portugal to shelters, they are in places a little lost, a little isolated near some trash deposit places. So far from the sites, far from the hearts. So if you don't see that, there is no problem, okay. And you need to think otherwise. There is a problem. It's our problem. You humans domesticated those animals. Sometimes during evolution, they had a purpose in our lives to survive. Okay, now are only companion animals, but they depend on us. So it's our not our fault, but our responsibility to take care of them the best way we can, and not encourage that as a municipal spending or a national spending, and a problem that costs a lot of money, and you have to throw money to it. No, okay, you need to think it's our responsibility because they did something for us along the evolutionary.
You told us a little bit earlier during this episode that you've seen animals in really bad shape. Do you have a story you want to share with us about an abandoned animal, then a story that had a strong impact on you and stayed with you?
Okay, I have some. So I had you is this kind of stories that when you look back or in your daily life that make all have a purpose or makes bad days being brighter. So I had a German Shepherd with 12 years old with arthrosis, and I was buying some chondro protectors and anti-inflammatory for her. Was in life ending, and I was not expecting nothing from that animal. I was trying only to make palliative care of that animal, and probably avoiding a little the euthanasia. Okay, because I was spending personal money to buy those meds. And the animal was available for adoption with that problems. The expectation was very, very, very low. And we had a couple from Lisbon that call us and you saw that you have a German Shepherd, do you want it? And from my side, so listen, and the dog is 12 years old, is a female, has a lot of arthrosis. The expected life is very, very short. And they told me, we know we had a German Shepherd a few months ago. She died with the same problems, and we are used to have those animals. And we don't have kids. We have money. We don't care. No, we want to adopt her because no one will adopt her. So we will bring it with us, and we'll provide the best last months of her life or years, and we'll care of their with the best we can. And they came from Lisbon, adopted the dog, and lived almost a year and a half. Was very good. And you think, okay, it's those animals that are in the specific groups that you think they will not get adopted. These animals are, I don't know. No one wants a old dog, a sick dog, a costly dog. It's only problems. You don't see nothing good. But those people wanted to help, and to help not a dog, a mainstream dog that is in a shelter and needs adoption. There is a lot. He had 150. They wanted a specific dog that no one will adopt or probably will die in the shelter of disease or age. And similar to that, I had a dog that was a tripod, only 3 legs. And also, you think no one will want this dog. And there are people that look at the shelters specifically to adopt those animals with FIV, for example. No one wants a cat. I say this cat has a feline immunodeficiency virus. So is sick, and they will get sick probably of infections. It's very high, and only is adoptable if you don't have cats, if you don't have dogs, and if you live in an apartment and don't allow him to go outside. But you have people that go to the shelter specifically looking for those guys and to adopt them because they know the probability of getting adopted, it's very low or inexistent. And you have it's a phenomenon that is called it's groups that adopt specifically non-wanted animals and make that rates of adoption is higher in elderly animals and in disease animals. And you have a downside after the puppy kitten phase because of kind schema effect. Is a phenomenon that explains why we feel so compulsive and so you like a lot a dog that is a puppy and a kitten, and if he's an adult you don't have the same compulsive look at them. Is explained by the kind scheme effect. And you have a downside after that age, so in an adult phase until elderly or some problem is specific, the rates of adoption decrease a lot and then increase again when you come across the final years and some problem specific. If I put dog with 5 years looking for adoption and a good nice photo, okay, it's another dog. But if I put this dog as a lymphoma, it's the last people are more compulsive. Okay, so German Shepherd with 12 years old and a lot of arthrosis is suffering in an animal shelter. Someone can take her for the final time of her life. It's more compulsive, and we have people looking after those. So you have puppies, kittens, downside in adult phase, and then again elderly and animals with problems.
Okay, thank you for sharing these stories. It's very beautiful. Do you girls have stories you want to share with us?
No, I don't have a specific story, but that's true. I've seen a lot of people wanting to adopt a dog for the few last years, and it's a way for them to help, also to give a new place for another dog. and also to help knowing that this type of dog will have trouble to be adopted, and if they have money and can do that.
It's a very specific way of adoption, but we have small groups, not formal groups. I putting together people that do that, but they are not a group. Besides, I think there is some informal movements that look after those animals specifically because they know they will not get adopted at all, or the probability is very low. If someone goes to a shelter and wants a puppy, a kitten, that is the most looked animal for adoption. Those animals does not have a leg or has some problem. It gets behind. People say, no, I don't want a broken animal. I want an animal that is young, healthy, and behaves, etc. And I think it's very good to have those. They are minimal, okay? They are very, very few. I remember I worked 8 years full time in a shelter. I remember one cat, Viv, and tripod, the German Shepherd I told you. There is other stories, but not so extreme. So that I said, this animal probably will live all the life with us in the shelter." The tripod, the Viv, and the German Shepherd. I thought these animals will not get outside the shelter by adoption. And other animals that you saw them, they enter adult, and you saw year after year there, they are big, they are female or male, that doesn't matter, but they are getting older in the shelter. You saw people don't get interested in that animal. And then someday someone appears that look at that animal look at the person, and they make a match, and there is love in the air. And I want that animal, and that you can't explain that because the people went to the shelter with another idea. They wanted a puppy, but something happened there. We say a lot with cats. Cats, we have a big area, a communitary room where we put the cats for adoption. And we have a door of glass, and beside in the hand camera, all if you want, you had some sofas, cozy sofas, and then people enter it, sit there, and you open the glass door, and cats will meet the adoptants, not the other side. So cats choose if they want it or not, and who wanted. So some cats go outside because it was a catio, outside patio for cats. Some cats, when some people enter, go outside. I don't want these people to adopt me. So it was very interesting. And we always said cat choose the adopter, not the other side. And in that case, it was a little like in cats, the dog and the person make something happen in that moment and fell in love with each other, and don't matter the age, don't matter the size, don't matter anything. So I want that dog because that dog and I had something here, some sparkle, some magic happen.
That's a beautiful labor.
And you, Jade, do you have some stories?
I have. It's less emotional than yours, but I have some. First is a dog I had. I was a foster for a dog just last week. He got adopted, so I'm happy. But I don't know if he was abandoned or if he just.
It was roaming. Okay.
But I found him in the street. He had no bankruptcy, and he was with me since November. And he was getting reactive, more and more reactive. Not really aggressive. It was not that awful, but he was capable of biting, and he was quite reactive to other dogs and some humans. And I was really scared that he will never be adopted because of that. We tried with a family. He stayed 1 week with this family, and it does not went well at all. So I was getting very scared, and the association contacted me about a family that was interested, but they had a dog, so I was really scared. But turns out
Went well.
it went really well with the other dog. It was even the other dog that was not really happy to see Loki. His name was Loki, the dog I was the foster of. And those people that were interested in Loki were because he had problems. They knew he had behavioral problem, and they wanted to to adopt him because they were able to, well, they had the financial means to do that, to take a trainer, and they wanted to help. So it's kind of the same thing you told us.
They still have good human beings. So there is a lot of compassion. Besides all the rest that is happening in the world, there is a lot of good human beings, and it's good to see that and to be part of that, because give some purpose to what we are doing in your side as a foster family, but you take part in the rehabilitation of an animal and giving a second opportunity and a family and a good life for him, and it's good. You make the difference.
Thank you. And I have other story also, but it's from my dogs that we adopted in France. They come from a shelter, and they were abandoned. And my dog, well, he's staying with my parents because he's in the name of my parents. And my parents wanted to keep him, but he's mine because I chose him. He chose me. That's my dog. But he was also abandoned, and his story, I found it a bit awful. But the shelter told us that they found him attached with a chain at the door of the shelter. I just can't imagine what the dog is thinking when his owner is attaching him and leaving him. I just
Yeah, it's sometimes that scenario happened to me also. Coming in the morning to work, and oh, there is a dog with Alicia on the tree in front of the door, or some worse scenarios, dogs throw through the fence in the box. Things very very bad. Cats, little kittens with days of life in the bag.
I had these situations because I had fostered 5 kittens and they were found in the box close. And
You have to have guts to deal with those situations, because they will happen, and there is very very cruelty in the humanity, because okay, we have some situations like one person that has a dog, mostly elderly person, that to go to the hospital, and they know that person will not come out of the hospital, is in a terminal phase or with a big problem. So the dog gets without his owner, and sometimes we are contacted to those situations, and we try to give answer to those, um, co- having the dog with us, but sometimes it's very difficult to give answers to that also, and so the other things is when the person dies really, and you have heritage, and people want the house, want the money in the bank account, but the dog is not mine. But it was the dog of your father, of your mother. I live in Lisbon, I live in an apartment, I can't have the dog. And we can say that, but we should say sometimes that so if you can't have the dog, live also with the dog, the house and the money in the bank, and you keep your dog and treat him. Okay, it's not fair. You can, it's heritage, and by law, the dog is yours. Okay, as is the house, as is the money in the account. So it's very difficult. It's a cultural, mental thing that is okay. So I choose what I want. I don't want that. Don't suits me. But okay, we are going through that, and year by year, things are getting better.
now that we have talked about all the consequences, this part was very emotional. I love it. We can now focus on how we can act to prevent abandonment. So, do you all, my co-host and you, Professor, do you all think the public is adequately aware of the consequences of abandoning animals, or is there still a lot of misinformation?
I think there is a lot of misinformation. People don't know what they risk by abandoning. And I also think that the justice often doesn't pursue people. And so even if you know that there is consequences, that you can get a fine, people tend to just abandon and they know they will not be fined. and they will not be pursued more than that.
I am totally agree. Maybe I don't really have many things to add personally.
Okay, so I think the problem starts with the identification, because most of those animals that enter shelter or that are abandoned don't have identification. So if you don't have identification, you can't responsibilize people, because how you prove that animal was from that person, okay? Because the law exists is from 2014 and criminalized the abandonment, but the problem is very difficult to justice to prove that that animal was abandoned. Okay, so I think that the problem is not the law. The problem, of course, is a cultural problem, and we have to look at it. But is there is no justification to still have so many animals entering shelters without identification. The majority has no identification. On microchip is not justificable. Justificable. How that happens nowadays. So many years after being mandatory to identify dog, more recently cats. I can't find. I can find some explanations for that. Probably fiscalization is not as good as it should, and we need to be more strict about the detention of animals and how you control the reproduction. So I'm apologist of mandatory sterilization for animals for companion purpose. So all the animals should be sterilized. If you want to be a breeder or to make some informal reproduction, okay, you register as that and are fiscalized as that, and you can follow the litters of those animals. If you only want for companion purpose, mandatory neutering, mandatory spaying of those animals, because the animals don't come from rocks. You say that because they appear in the streets and no one knows from where they came, and that is not possible. And you have a mother, a father, so someone is accountable for that. The problem is you can't reach those because there is no identification, so you can't prove that. In most of the situations, you can prove who abandoned the animal. So I think there is a problem in identification for beginning, and fiscalization and secondary, and probably neutering, spaying, sterilization, if you want, will be the third pillar here to solve a little this problem. About abandonment, this summer abandonment, I think we need to go sensibilize people in schools, something like we are doing here now, talk about the problem, inform people, inform students, inform children, because they are the future. So it's easier to leave a seed in those small future human beings and make them sensibilized to the problem. And I think all kinds of social media, talks, papers, everything we can do to uh, let people at least for 1 minute think better how they wanted to have a dog or a cat, why they want it, if they have the conditions to have it, what are the commitments that you have to do to have a dog or a cat, making course mandatory prior to having an animal. I think that will be great. I don't think that will be easy to put in practice, but I think it makes sense. But at least have those courses for who wanted to take them could take, because I think there is no such thing to so a course accredited by vets, by nurses, by interdisciplinary team, psychology maybe also, so that nutritionists, so that people can really look and know what to expect and what will dive in when adopting an animal. I think that would be great if someone can put that in practice.
Yeah. We definitely need more regulation about that. Can you tell us what is the consequences, what is the risk when you abandon an animal? What do you risk prison? Do you risk to pay a fine? What are the consequences?
Both. Yeah. The legal framework seeks a minimum of 6 months in prison, a fine, and then depends on the consequences to animal. If he dies, if he not dies, if he's mistreated, if there is signs of trauma, for example, and then depends on the role that you have. Like if you have some kind of enterprise that has public funding, you can see that funding cut. You can be forbidden of having animals for a period of time. But you are talking in situations, so there are accessory sanctions to the primary sanctions. Primary sanctions is prison and fine, but it's something incremental. So as more badly was the abandonment, also the more negative impact as the abandonment in the animal, or if results in the death of the animal, more heavy will be the judgment and the sanctions to you in that case scenario.
Okay, and do you find that here in Portugal the sanctions are well applied, or there are some times where we find people must have been more sanctioned, and
When you can prove the abandonment, so you have a owner and the animal that was abandoned, the sentence, I think it's properly attributed. The problem, I think, is when you know, or you guess, or you have a really suspicion about that person that is the owner, but you can prove it. So there is nothing to that person, because if you can prove the property, the ownership, you don't have abandonment. And if you don't have abandonment, you don't have sanctions. Okay. The other thing that is problematic is the letter of the law, or the way it is written, that in some situations let justice to not sanction the owner, because if you abandon your animal in a clinic or in a shelter, is not really considered abandonment. Okay, so the example I gave earlier, if you put your dog through the fence in a shelter, is not considered abandonment, because he is at care of a shelter. If you go to a clinic and ask for something, and the dog gets in the CU, or gets in the hospitalized, and you never get back to have your dog, is not abandonment. Okay, can be, the clinic can issue you with economic problem because you have a debt. Okay, but in the case scenario of abandonment is not considered, because you let your dog or your cat at the care of a clinic.
And in this case, as a vet, what should we do?
Justice, but I think it is an interpretation error in Portugal, but the thought is from the legislator, that the way they write the law, because says that the abandonment is abandonment when you get the animal outside without care. So you give up your animal, but not without care, because it's in a clinic, it's in a shelter. So some judge consider that is not abandonment because they have care in a clinic, in a shelter. So for their interpretation, reading the law, because there is care, there is not abandonment. I don't think it's that. I think it's not that the spirit. If you let your dog in some place that is not his home, is abandonment.
Yes.
Okay, even if it's a clinic, even if it's a shelter, even if it's a place where the animal will be well treated. Okay, but if you go to a consultation and let the dog there, it's abandonment.
Yes.
For me, it's abandonment. The law don't say that clearly, and some judges interpret that way. So, is with care, so it's not abandonment.
And in the case of owner that let his animal in the clinic but pay for maybe the treatment that the clinic have to do but never come back, could the clinic still pursue no, sue the owner in justice?
You can make a complaint in the justice because of abandonment, but probably will be archived because of that. In that situation, what I say to my colleagues is it's better to contact the shelter.
Okay.
So the animal enters the shelter. Shelter makes an entrance because the animal enter here, notifies the owner. Your dog enter the shelter. You have 15 days to collect him. Otherwise, will be put for adoption, and we'll lost the detention, and we'll pay the bill because every day you have to pay a small amount, and it's also communicated to the public ministry, the justice, as abandonment. Then again, the justice will consider or not abandonment depends on who interrupts the law, and because in the shelter you have care, so okay, but at least the 15 days and the notification and the fine, not the fine, but the bill of the everyday the hospital, no, not hospitalization, but the care of the animal will be a cost that the owner will have to pay, and if he not pays that, getting the dog back will have taxes over it, and that will go to the finance to execution. So the people who only can get rid of the bill getting the animal back, because they start making calculations about the amount they will spend if they don't get the dog. And because if you pass the 15 days, don't close the amount, they start getting taxes over it. So it's a it's a bill that will only conclude when you pay it. To pay it, you have to get the dog, and even if you not get the dog after 15 days, the dog goes to adoption, but the bills still have continues to. Okay, after the 15 days, you lost your right over the animal. Okay, because the animals passes to be owned by the shelter, so it's property of the shelter, but the bill continues. It's yours, and you have to pay it. Okay, so people, if they want the dog and if was something they don't think well about it, they will get the dog and pay the bill and give some excuse. If they don't really want the dog, it was a way to get rid of it. They wait the 15 days because they lose the ownership and pay.
Okay.
But in those cases, I always communicate to the justice, as abandonment. I never get a situation or condemnation about abandonment in those situations.
I have another question. This one is a bit long, so stay with me for this one. What advice would you give to people who find themselves unable to care for their pets during the summer to ensure the animal are properly rehomed or cared for? And what would you say to someone who is considering giving up their animals before a holiday?
Um, for me, there is always other solution. If you like and if you love your animal, you can find a solution. Maybe with a pet sitter, a hostel, or family, friends. There are solutions, and the better one is not abandonment. And I think it's all by off.
I think I will try to understand the reason of the abandonment, because if it's just related to summer, I think the issue is a bit deeper because it's again a misconception of what it is to own an animal. If it's because, for example, during summer it happens that you find out you're allergic to your animal and that you cannot live with him, I think most of the time you can find a way to anticipate and to prepare the abandonment in a form. And so for that you can, for example, take a phone call to a shelter to prepare it, to fill a formula, everything. You can also see there is some associations that can help you to rehome your dog. You can see with friends, family, and I think there is a lot of possibility. But the thing is that for me the most important thing is to consider the well-being of the animal and to find a solution that can help with that and that is not too extreme, too precipitated, and give the animals not without enough reflection and thinking.
I fully agree with you. I think the first thing of all is to understand the motivation that brings to the possibility of abandonment. Normally, when we are contacted by people that want to get rid of their animals, you are already in extreme situation. So people tried something or overthinking the situation and get to a point. It's now. I have to have a solution now. In this moment, in these 5 minutes, I have to get rid of the animal. And probably if you have summer and you have to go in holidays and your animal can't go with you, but you want to go anyway, you can look after hotels. You can look after friends and family. Thank you. You can also contact the shelter, but shelter are overcrowded. But they cannot get your dog or cat inside, but can give you contacts of associations or foster families or pet sitters or someone that could take care of your animal during that period. If there is other problem like incompatibility, behavioral allergies, if you can take those measures to minimize that problems, you can try to rehome. And people that have animals always look to the shelter as you have to give me a solution. Shelters are not for animals with owners. Shelters are for stray animals. People that have animals should look to the associations and contact them, but in first place, they should be responsible for their animals. So if I have an animal and I can take care of him, and if I don't want it more, or if I have a life that don't allows me to have him or to give the care they need, I must be responsible and look for a new family for him. And that responsibility is from the owner, is not anyone else. And there is a lot of this tentative of putting the responsibility in the other. The dog is yours, so the responsibility is yours. So you have to achieve, arrange, make a solution to that particular being. So if you can't take care of him now, you have to look for a new family. And this is your responsibility for the time that it takes. Not the shelter, not the association, not the friend, not the hotel. Okay, so you have to be responsible for that. Yeah, I think that is a misperception of ownership on most people because they don't think they are responsible to have a solution for that. They think I have a problem, you give me a solution. No, you have a problem, you have to find a solution for that. We can help you achieve that solution, but it's not our responsibility to give you a solution. And I think that is the principal mind setting that is need to explain to people that dog is yours, dog is your responsibility. If you don't want it, you have to have a solution because you are accountable for him.
I have a little question about that, but more for the point of view of the animal. If the owner have to abandon his animal, what should he do to help the animal for the transition?
And if you have a situation and you have a good owner, and the owner sees his life changing or for something, he thinks it's better to this animal that I have to have another family because I can provide what he needs. So it's a pacifical solution. So that person will be more sensible to a process of transition that allows the animal to adapt. And possible the new family will also be sensible to that person. Sometimes go visit the animal, interact. So there is not a break, a separation, a change, a traumatic change. So it's a process. Like when you introduce food, you, you introduce the new and get rid of the old little by little. So can be made a transitional process. So the old owner and the new owner meet, go to one house, go to another, start to know each other, and bit by bit there is a transitional. This is a process that puts the animal in the first place, and I think it's the good way to do. And that is a conscious person that face problems and has to get probably with against their will, but has to get rid of the animal because they can't really provide it. That person is putting the animal in first place. It's not that person that is egocentric and I want to go in holidays to Maldives and the plane don't accept my Transmontano Mastiff. I don't have anyone to take care of him. So shelter, you have to keep him. No. No, okay, no. If you can go to Maldives, you also can pay a hotel for the dog, okay, or someone to take care of them. It's not difficult. If you have a dog that is used to be at home, you can have someone that goes there, gives some petting, food, sees everything is okay, and calls you, it's everything okay with Bobby or Tareko, whatever, right? And what is the difficulty to have someone to do that? If you have a cat, the cat is easier. Okay, the cat will suffer or not. They probably, I think, cats all entered in stress during pandemic COVID-19 because we never had so much time with cats during that process. They were okay. My house, get out of it. But I think if you want really to have a solution, you arrange it. Those people are conscious and make it. The other are only people that never thought really well what is having an animal and don't have the responsibility, the conscious to have an animal, and it is better to not have that animal.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, the last question is, in your opinion, Professor, you already talked a bit about that earlier, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. Is there, in your opinion, sorry, how can veterinary professionals and students like us contribute more actively to public awareness and responsible ownership?
Okay, again, like actions like this one, like a podcast that everyone can listen to and be more aware or more sensibilized to these problems, or at least think better when getting an animal. Um, I think vet students and vets and everyone that works in the veterinary field can and must sensibilize the community and in every day in a talk with friends and family, in a clinic, in 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 the school, everywhere we can always make some pedagogic talk and alert for the long term commitment that is having an animal, the urges when you want to go on holidays. That animal will still be there, is not made of porcelain. Okay, so you have to think of him and you have to think of him before you have him. So you must have those kind of thoughts, and you can alert people to that before in everyday talks. Um, Also doing something more formal like going to schools, going doing talks, doing some flyers that we can distribute to people, some campaigns like summer, okay, don't abandon your pet in the summer, uh, adopt with conscience, something like that, and we can inform people, and also again make a course that at least now voluntarily people can take before they have an animal, so they are habilitated to be more caretakers, because the animal is our, but we are caretakers of them. You have to put that in perspective.
Thank you very much. That brings us, to the end of today's episode. We've talked about the reality of summer pet abandonment, its emotional and physical consequences on animals, and what each of us can do to prevent it. A huge thank you to our guest, Professor Paulo, for sharing his expertise and for shedding light on this often overlooked issue. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with your friends, classmates, or anyone who loves animals. And let's keep the conversation going and be part of the change. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my co host. And until next time, take care and take care of the animals around you.